Thank you very much. Thank you all for being here. Mr. Olson, you and I were both engaged in that 2008 initial process back when I was on the Intelligence Committee as well as the Judiciary Committee. So let me just join Mr. Abate in his feelings of dismay that these errors have been allowed to take place. I've been a constant supporter of 702, and it's very frustrating years into the process to have these errors continue. You've mentioned, the panel has mentioned the role of 702 in finding out about atrocities committed by Russia in Ukraine. Can you tell me if that information has yet been shared with the International Criminal Court?
I'm not sure. I defer to my colleagues about whether it has or not. Yeah.
The reason I'd like an answer to that is that this committee, Senator Graham, Chairman Durbin, saw to it that a law was passed lifting the ban on cooperation with the International Criminal Court as it regards specifically Russian atrocities in Ukraine. And our understanding from the last conversation we had was that the Department of Defense was stopping the executive branch from complying with that law passed by Congress. And if that is still the case, then we'd like an answer to that. So can we get an answer to that in a timely fashion for the committee?
Yes.
It's the law of the country for the executive branch to cooperate with the International Criminal Court as regards the investigation into Russian crimes. The failure of the executive branch to abide by that law, I believe, because of the recalcitrance of one agency, just isn't consistent with the way things are supposed to work in our democracy. So I hope that we've put an end to that problem or solved it, but if not, we're going to continue to press on that question. Mr. Olson, there are three areas that we've talked about with regards to 702 that are not presently in the 702 statute. One is its use to pursue the international organizations that are responsible for bringing fentanyl into the country and for thousands of American deaths. You are currently using the program to target those organizations, correct?
The program is being used, Senator, for the purpose of gaining intelligence on fentanyl distribution, focusing on individuals and groups outside the United States who are not U.S. persons.
So let me make a recommendation that you add to 702 a specific authorization for that purpose. I think that would be welcome. Second, you've announced a considerable number of repairs and reforms, including the FBI unclassified congressional notice that we received today. Those are all being accomplished administratively, correct?
That's correct at this point.
I would strongly recommend that you take as many of those as you feasibly can and bake them into the law. So work on an amendment that incorporates those reforms so that it now is part of the 702 law that we will be voting on. The third is that you have mentioned the role of 702 in supporting American victims of foreign intelligence breaches. Very often it's a company that is having information stolen out of it, often by PRC-related entities. And the way you find out about it is that through 702, you pick up the contact with the American company. Now you have the ability to go to the American company and say, hey, you have a problem, and help them defend themselves. Is that an accurate description of the way that transpires?
Absolutely, both through direct means as well as cyber means is the way we've seen those types of intrusions occur.
So I would also recommend that you add 2702 specific authority related to the support for American victims. There's no reason that should hide that aspect of the program under a bushel. And once it's part of the program, there's no doubt that that's a legitimate way for the executive branch to proceed. With that, my time is up. I thank you all for your service and yield back to the chairman.